Next on Comcast Newsmakers, closing tax exemptions in Washington state. A good idea or not so simple? Here are one lawmaker's thoughts on the issue coming up. Hi, welcome to Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Sabrina Register. Today we are in Olympia, the beautiful state reception room at the Capitol. And joining me right now, Representative Terry-Nealey. He represents District 16, which is Columbia County, Walla Walla County. Help me out here.
Part of Franklin County, which is Pasco, part of Pasco, and then a lot of Benton County, the rural areas.
Representative, thanks so much for coming on
Thank
the program.
You.
So we're talking tax exemptions. The governor recently said he'd like to close some of these tax exemptions in order to help fund education. What are your thoughts on the issue?
I think what we need to talk about, first of all, is the B&O tax, business and occupation tax. That's a tax against businesses in the state of Washington. And it's against the gross, not the net income. So if you have businesses with a very narrow margin of income, that's a big tax to them. So there's something like 650 tax preferences on the books. I don't like them real well, but they're necessary. We have to deal with them to keep our businesses in our state competitive.
So you're saying that if we did away with a lot of these tax exemptions, some of these companies would set up shop elsewhere in another state?
Absolutely.
So you're saying maybe take a look at these preferences, but some of them are necessary. What about the Boeing tax exemption? Of course, that was just passed end of last year.
Yes, we dealt with that in November of last year, and that was an important tax preference to them, again on the B&O tax, and it was about an $8.7 billion extension of the existing tax preference out to the year 2040, and that was to help protect or bring in the 777X airplane to make sure our jobs were kept on that airplane and so forth. And so it's important for that tax preference because the economic data shows that it's about 2 to 4 times the economic result or return we get on that tax preference. So it's important to keep that business here.
So in terms of that tax exemption, you and the governor were on the same page.
We were. That's right.
But not necessarily on some of the other ones. Let's talk about a bill right now to close the exemption on extracted fuel. Tell us about this exemption and what kind of support you think it has.
I think there are 5 refineries up in the Anacortes area, and they're very important to our state. They employ hundreds, thousands of employees. One company that testified in front of our finance committee said they pay about $50 million in taxes per year. And so this extracted fuel tax is just simply a tax against the little bit of, after the refinery process, there's a little bit of fuel left over, natural gas, and they just run it back through their system. So that helps their business, but it saves bringing in more natural gas to help replace that. So there's been a tax exemption for that tax against that extracted fuel, and it amounts to a little over $50 million. So the Democrats have come in and said, well, let's take that away. That's big oil. But we've got to be very careful here because already those companies pay 4 times what their like companies do in California. So they're heavily taxed already. So do we want to really tax them more by removing this tax preference? That's the issue we have to deal with.
So it sounds like you're saying not so fast.
Not so fast, absolutely.
We're almost out of time, Representative, but there's also a bill in the House that hopes to make tax exemptions just more transparent, yes?
And yes, that's true. And I'm working with that bill. I agree that we need more transparency, and it helps to be able to get the information to Department of Revenue and to JLARC to review the impact and the effect of these tax preferences. I'm in favor of that, but I'm not in favor of forcing companies to disclose publicly all of their financial data. We've got to be very careful about forcing them to do that.
Representative, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
And thanks for watching Comcast Newsmakers Headline News, coming up at the top and bottom of the hour.